Welcome the audio of the book, The Grand Awakening, the Divine Within, a journey beyond illusion into infinite remembrance by Master Gerald Bessenge, published by Ultimate Multimedia Consult, March 2025 *. Forward. There comes a moment in every seeker's journey when the whisper of truth grows too powerful to ignore, and when the light within demands to be acknowledged. The Grand Awakening is not merely a book, it is a portal, a transmission, a living testament to the eternal wisdom that has been encoded within the great knowledge, wisdom, and practical guides. Gerald Bessenge has masterfully woven together the golden threads of ancient traditions, blending the sacred teachings of African spirituality, Eastern mysticism, and esoteric wisdom with the transformative insights of modern spiritual awakening. This is not a book that you simply read, it is a journey you embark upon. The book you are invited to step beyond the known, to dissolve the illusions of separation, and to reclaim the infinite power that has always resided within you. Through the lens of storytelling, dialogue, and deeply reflective narration, The Grand Awakening serves as both a guide and a mirror. The profound conversations between the wise teacher, Shalom, and the attentive seeker capture the essence of spiritual initiation, the shift from unconscious existence to divine remembrance. This is a work that does not impose doctrine, but rather parages direct experience. It urges you to look beyond conditioned beliefs, beyond external authority, and into the boundless wellspring of knowing that exists within your soul. What makes this book truly remarkable is its ability to unify diverse spiritual perspectives without diluting their essence. Whether one follows the wisdom of the Tao, the path of Christ consciousness, the teachings of the Kemetic masters, or the guidance of indigenous traditions, the central message remains clear. You are not separate from the divine, you are an expression of it. In a time when humanity stands at a crossroads, the Grand Awakening is both a call and a key. A call to rise beyond fear, limitation, and programmed consciousness, and a key to unlocking the infinite potential that lies dormant within each of us. As we navigate an era of profound transformation, this book reminds us that enlightenment is not a destination, it is a state of being, an unfolding, an eternal dance with the cosmos. As you turn these pages, do not merely feel, do not merely understand, experience. Allow this work to activate within you the deep remembrance of who and what you truly are. This is not a book for the mind alone. It is a guide for the soul, a map for the heart, and an invitation to step fully, tear into the luminous reality of your divine essence. Forward by Master Goddard Murphy, spiritual teacher and entrepreneur. A real dream, the golden rays of the morning sun stretched lazily over the rolling hills of Kamata, casting long shadows across the courtyard where my father, Ignatius Bishisira, sat beneath the sprawling branches of a mango tree. The thick, gnarled roots of the tree dug into the earth like the hands of time itself, anchoring generations of memory. The wind carried the scent of ripe fruit and damp earth, mingling with the distant chatter of village children playing in the neighborhood. It was indeed an eerie morning here, Kumata, a village tucked away in Part1 Council, Kogadi district of Uganda. On this particular Saturday morning, I could see the sun had begun its ascent from behind the rolling hills, casting a golden light over the modest house where my siblings and I had grown up. The house stood as a quiet monument to our childhood, but now this homestead was only my father and mother, Amuti, who called it home. All of us, the grown children, had left for Kampala, where we were pursuing our own paths. I had come this particular Saturday to pay a visit to our parents after 4 months. As I parked the car, I noticed my father peering over the top of his spyglasses, his gaze lifting from the newspaper he had been reading. For a moment our eyes met, and I was struck by how quickly I had parked. Before I knew it, I was seated beside him. He greeted me with a warm handshake, his touch firm yet full of the kind of gratitude that only a parent could express after months apart. Oruho ota Akiki. How are you, Akiki? I greeted him in our native Runyororu Turo language. In our culture, everyone gets one of the 12 Empiko names of endearment at birth. My father is Akiki, and I am Atini. Indo, Atini, I am well. Atini, he replied with a soft smile. We talked briefly about family, work, health, and the changes that had come with time. We worked so hard to build this home, hoping that we would live here happily with our children. But now, none of you are here. Your mother went for a medical checkup, and now I am here alone. My father said, his voice tinged with a smile that hid the loneliness beneath. At 45 this February, 2025, I understood this feeling deeply. My own home, though filled with the laughter of children, often felt empty, especially when they are away at boarding school for most of the year. This was the inevitable cycle of adult life, one that I was beginning to fully comprehend. This busied the culminating reality of adult life, I said, acknowledging the deep truth of his word. By God's grace, being the eldest son, I often acted as advisor to my father. How far with the land you purchased in Enga? He asked me. I was startled, as this was a far-off topic. I had a dream about that place, Endaga, he said, and my interest piqued at the mysterious nature of his words. It was shown to me as the cradle of many minerals, including oil, in the African crest, he said, his voice now laced with awe. He spoke of Ndega, not merely as a place, but as something far more significant. I felt the pulse of the earth beneath my feet. The place seemed to vibrate with life, as though it were the heartbeat of humanity itself. It was as if the land held a secret something powerful and ancient, he said. I was intrigued, not by the potential material wealth that may be in the land, but by the spiritual depths my father seemed to be touching. As a journalist, I was naturally curious, but there was a deeper sense of urgency in his words, something that resonated with the mystic within me. His dream sparked a yearning to uncover the hidden truths that lay in Ndi, aiga. My father knew I had always been drawn to the mysteries of the world, so I guessed this was why he was sharing. Not sure if he knew how stirring this urge was in my part. I had never shared with him the mysterious revelations I had witnessed in my life. I had the previous year published a book, Becoming Ultimate Masters, where I explored many spiritual truths and scientific facts to help one live a purposeful life, understand the laws of the universe, and live a life in divine connection. My father, who didn't tell me if he read the book, had intimated one time that I saw you read a lot of books to come out with that publication. Should I go to Indega and explore more of this dream you've had? I asked, seeking his permission and wisdom. He nodded, his eyes gleaming with a sense of knowing. Go. It might open your eyes and ears more than you know, he said, his words carrying a quiet weight. Though my father was a devout Catholic, I had never known him to express such mystical inclinations. His approval filled me with a sense of anticipation. So I set off for Endiga, the road winding through Pachwa Mabali, Kagadi, and Mahoro towns, before turning toward the road leading to Endiga sub-county. As I passed Mahoro, I made a stop at Kapaimi, the center of the Abakariza sect of Awabasabozi Bisaka, though I had always been intrigued by the sect's widespread following. A voice inside urged me to continue toward Indega. It felt as though the land itself was calling, beckoning me to discover its secrets. This was my third time visiting Indega, located at the shores of Lake Albert, which is called Lake Mutanzij, killer of locusts. I left the car 2 kilometers after Kiamutunzi town, for beyond this point the road descends in winding curves, thick with the scent of pine and damp earth. As I sat on the back of the motorcycle, the rocky surface of the road leading to sharp descent after sharp descent almost made me regret why I had been tempted to buy land here in the first place. I even had no immediate or clear plans of how I would use the land in an area that was hard to reach. But remembering my father's dream, I clutched tightly to the metal carrier with both hands, as if to balance off the motorcycle rider who was taking me towards an endless dip. What helped matters was the cool breeze as we descended lower and lower. The landscape seemed to stretch forever beneath the sky. While I had seen the escarpments and the beautiful scenery below on previous journeys here, I was still amazed at how the steep cliffs seemed to hold the sky in their grasp as I gazed further below. It always seemed like the valley and cliffs were guiding travelers toward the unknown. After about 40 mins of twisting roads, riding over boulders, we finally reached the valley bottom, with the lake waters stretching beyond where eyes could see. Kabu Kunga village stretched out before me, its vast expanse lying like an undiscovered treasure. Here the land is bare, dotted with a handful of humble madandwattle houses, some semi-permanent house, each sheltering its own story. The only sign of bustling life was the landing site, where locals gathered to fish and trade goods, mostly fish, foodstuffs, and produce. The settlement seemed to hum with the energy of those who had lived here for a few decades. untouched by the rush of modern development. Yet, this time, I could sense that there was something more beneath the surface of story that the land had yet to share. I dismounted from the motorcycle, my heart racing with a mix of excitement and uncertainty. I approached an old man sitting by a small fire, stirring a pot. "Do you know anything about this place?" I asked, hoping for some insight into the land my father had dreamed of. "I've heard it's special," I continued. The man looked up slowly, his eyes tired but wise. "Ah, son," he said with a slow, deliberate tone. "Kabukanga and the whole Endiga is like any other place. People live here, fish here, and some die here. There's nothing special about it." His words were dismissive, but they left me bet with more questions than answers. I continued my search, speaking with more locals. Each conversation yielded the same result. The area was just a quiet village with rumors of oil and mineral deposits, though no one knew for sure. Indeed, I was aware that the government had 2 years ago brought by ferry a big exploration team and equipment, whose results were yet to be shared. No one seemed to know anything about the land's supposed mineral wealth and mystical connections. As I stood near the landing site, the air thick with the smell of fish and the noise of people haggling, I was about to leave when a voice caught my attention. The voice was soft, almost like a whisper, as if it was meant just for me, and not all. "Be the one who knows, and not the one who seeks." I turned round, and there he was, a tall man, seeming to be in his early 30s, walking alone, speaking as if to the wind itself. His words were like a poem, and they struck me to my core. He wasn't speaking to anyone, but his voice carried the weight of ancient wisdom. I felt it was strange, and not or is one of the principles taught for more than a decade in multimedia and digital communication classes at Makerere University. The principle encourages learners and practitioners to think of digital media tools and platforms as complementary, not alternatives. You use this and that, not this or that. To be is to know, and to know is to be, he continued. He had surely won my highest attention. The truths of the world are many, but all are true. Not this or that, but the truth is all of you. You are the awareness of being, the I am, in this moment and every moment. You are that who is. Existence is all you are, here and now, on a continuous journey, here and now. As you walk the path to know more of who you are, as you allow the transformations to take place, towards the transformation of humanity, towards a new awareness of the now, you are a grand adventure. You are of the all that is, expressing within you and all. See the deep mystery of your being unfold. I am you from a different point of view. Breathe it in, breathe it out, deeply, passionately, float freely, now on the currency of creation. To know thyself is to know all that is. The words resonated in me like a deep bell. I felt a surge of energia, connection to something far larger than myself, something ancient and divine. The man stopped, and as he turned to face me, his smile was knowing. his eyes twinkling as if he saw into the very heart of my being. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice trembling with the weight of his words. "I am," he replied simply, as if that answer held all the mystery of the universe. "What's your name?" I pressed, wanting to understand more. He smiled again, that knowing smile. But you can call me Shalom, Salam." There was a pause, and then he asked, "Who are you?" Is called Gerald Busenge, 18 ye, I replied, my voice filled with reverence. "I came to tour Endega and learn about its mysteries," I added, regaining my calm. Shalom tilted his head slightly, his eyes thoughtful. "Mysteries," he repeated. "How do you know it has mysteries?" he asked. I hesitated, wondering how to explain. "My father had a dream," I said finally. "A dream about this place. It felt important, like it holds the answers to something bigger," I said. Shalom smiled softly and gestured for me to follow him. "Come," he said. "I'll show you something," he added. We walked in silence for a while, until we reached the edge of one of the escapes. From here, the valley stretched out before us, the lake shimmering in the distance. Shalom led me down a narrow path, winding along the steep rock face. We reached a small ledge, and as we sat together, the view before us was breathtaking, vast, open, and yet deeply intimate. "You are one of those seeds that fell on fertile ground," Shalom said gently, his voice almost a whisper. "You have come here for a reason. I don't mean here, in Endega. The time has come for the grand awakening," he added. I looked at him, puzzled. Grand awakening. I had heard talk of big changes in the world, but never in this way. "What do you mean?" I quipped. "Yes," he replied. "The world is changing, shifting to a new dimension. But for now, only a few will understand their true selves. Only a few will awaken to their higher being and help guide others," Shalom said. "But what does that have to do with this place?" I asked, my mind racing. "Kabukanga, Ndaiga. Is this the center of it all?" Shalom smiled softly, his eyes filled with quiet wisdom. "This land is indeed important, Busenge, but not in the way you think. This place, like many others, carries its own mysticism, its own history. But there are countless places around the world like this, and they all carry the same truth. What matters is not where you are, but who you are," he said. I blinked, trying to make sense of his words. "What do you mean? The most important mystery is not the land, or the people, or the things you dream about," Shalom explained. "It is the awareness of your own being. When you realize who you truly are, when you understand your connection to all that is, that is when the awakening begins. The truth lies within you," he added. I sat silently for a minute, feeling the weight of Shalom's words. The wind whispered around us, and I felt as though something deep inside me was stirring, as though another important door had just been unlocked. Even the chuckling melodies of the birds and the noise from the haggling people yonder in Kabukanga didn't seem to register in my mind. "You are a part of the consciousness of all that is," Shalom continued, his voice steady. Everything is interconnected, the universe, the earth, and all beings within it. And the truth, ... It's not about this or that. All truths are true, depending on the perspective. But the truth of who you are is the key. Who you truly are never changes. Shalom said. Who am I? I asked softly, more to myself than to him. You are the I am, Shalom answered. You are the awareness. You are the higher self, the divine presence within you, showing up in a physical body. The world has forgotten, but it is time for you to remember, he said. I looked out over the valley and the yonder lake, feeling as though the world had shifted beneath my feet. The landscape before my eyes seemed to shimmer with new meaning. And I knew this was just the beginning. Chapter 2. The power of light illuminating your divine path. The air was still, save for a gentle breeze that caressed my face, carrying with it the earthy fragrance of damp soil and distant blossoms. The wind seemed to have a way of whispering secrets to those who listened. And in that moment, as it brushed past me, my eyelids grew heavy. Surrendering to the calm embrace of nature, I closed my eyes, and after about 15 minutes in this silence, it came a great light. It was not the harsh brightness of the midday sun, nor the artificial glare of electric bulbs. It was something deeper, something alive. It filled my entire being with warmth and clarity, as if the very essence of existence had been laid bare before me. The light did not merely illuminate, it spoke, though not in words, but in an understanding beyond language. I felt its presence seep into my core, stirring something ancient within me. When I finally opened my eyes, Shalom was watching me with a knowing smile, as though he had been expecting this very moment. I blinked, still overwhelmed by the vision. Shalom, I just saw something extraordinary. It was light pure, radiant, and full of life. But it wasn't like any light I've ever seen. It felt ... divine. What does this mean? I asked, sounding somewhat relieved that I had asked. Shalom leaned forward, his eyes reflecting a quiet wisdom. Ah, my friend, you have just glimpsed what many seekers spend lifetimes searching for. That light is the very essence of life itself. It is the presence of the divine, the core energy that sustains all things. Tell me, have you ever considered that everything you perceive, your emotions, thoughts, and even your very existence is governed by light? Shalom asked. His words settled in my mind like ripples on a still lake. I pondered them, the weight of their meaning pressing upon me. I suppose I've thought of light as a phenomenon, I admitted, something that allows us to see. But you're saying it's much more than that, I asked. Shalom nodded. Much more. Light is the foundation of creation, the firstborn of divine order. In the book of Genesis, the very first command spoken by God was, "Let there be light," Genasazum, Tres. This was not simply the creation of physical illumination, which was the manifestation of divine clarity, wisdom, and purpose. Before light, there was chaos. Likewise, in our lives, whenever we lack clarity, We live in darkness uncertain, confused and disconnected from our divine essence, he said. A shiver ran through me, though not from the cool breeze. I understood, in that moment, the weight of what he was saying, that in any situation you face, you order, let there be light, so that clarity can appear. So when I struggle to see my path, when I feel lost, it's because I lack this light. I asked, precisely, Shalom affirmed. And the solution is not to look for external sources of light, but to awaken the light within. In the Quran, Allah is described as the light of the heavens and the earth. Surah An-Nur 24:35. This verse suggests that divine light is the guiding force of the universe, illuminating our path and filling us with wisdom. Similarly, in the Kabbalah, the concept of Ein Sof, or infinite light, teaches that divine energy permeates all existence. Our task is to receive and radiate this divine light, making our lives a reflection of the divine, he continued. I felt the truth of his words sinking into me like rain soaking the parched earth. Understood why he was humming and not awe. Still, I found myself asking, does every spiritual tradition speak of light in this way? Shalom's face lit up with enthusiasm. Yes, across cultures and ages, spiritual wisdom has emphasized that light is more than illumination. It is God's presence, divine clarity, and the key to our awakening. The Bhagavad Gita, a much older spiritual publication, states, "The light which is residing in the sun, illuminating the whole universe. That light is mine." Bhagavad Gita Jam 15:12. And in Taoism, Lao Tzu tells us, "He who is filled with light becomes a guide for others." It was calming to be a student once again, listening and internalizing great truths. Shalom was not yet done. Buddhism speaks of inner light as the awakened state. The Bodhisattva of Avalokiteshvara is often depicted radiating divine light, symbolizing wisdom that transcends ignorance. In African spirituality, the Yoruba concept of ash refers to the vital force that illuminates, empowers, and manifests reality. In your own land here, the Empire of Katara, the place of light, also known as the land of the sun and the moon, illuminated much of Africa with leadership, spiritual knowledge, and social order. To walk in light is to live in alignment with divine order, Shalom said. I nodded, absorbing his words. It seems that light is not just something to be seen, but something to be embodied. How do I do that? How do I access more of this light? I inquired. Shalom's voice took on a reverent tone. First, understand that light is not just a metaphor, it is real. Even at a scientific level, light is energy. Every atom, every cell, every function in your body relies on light energy. Plants cannot grow without light. Modern medicine uses phototherapy, laser treatments, and even light-activated chemotherapy to heal. This mirrors the ancient understanding. Divine light restores and transforms. But beyond the physical light is also consciousness. The more light you have within you, the more you awaken to truth, he said. To access more light, you must first seek divine connection. Light flows from the source, whether you call it God, Allah, the Creator, the universe, the Tao, the Father, or the Divine. Connecting with this source through prayer, meditation, and stillness expands your inner light. Shalom, guided. I inhaled deeply. Is that why Jesus said, "The kingdom of God is within you"? Luke 17:21. Shalom's eyes gleamed. Exactly. That is why in deep meditation we visualize a radiant golden light in our heart. We see it expanding throughout our body, filling us with clarity, wisdom, and divine love. This is the light of God manifesting within us. And to keep this light strong, you must live in truth. Lies, deceit, and negativity dim your light. That is why Jesus also said, "The truth shall set you free." John 8:32. Shalom said, I exhaled, slowly feeling the weight of revelation settle into my bones. What happens when someone lacks light, when they live in darkness? I asked. They live in confusion, fear, and stagnation. Shalom answered. Many people struggle not because they are incapable, but because they lack clarity. The Bible warns, where there is no vision, the people perish. Proverbs 29 minutes and 18 seconds, he added. I was about to ask him to clarify further on this popular quote, when I heard him continue thus, "Without light we stumble, but with light we walk with confidence." Imagine being lost in a dense forest at night with no moon, no stars, and no flashlight. Every step is uncertain. Fear grips you. But the moment you hold a lantern, everything changes. You see the path, avoid the dangers, and move forward with divine wisdoms. That is what spiritual light does. It allows you to see, even beyond what eyes can see, he said. I looked up at the sky, now painted with the first traces of twilight. So the real question is not whether I have light, but whether I am letting it shine. I asked. Shalom smiled. Precisely. You were born to shine. You were created to illuminate. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes. Think of something that makes you feel good. Feel the presence of divine light within you. Let it radiate. Let it illuminate the world. Because when you shine, you awaken others to their own light hand. That, my friend, is the highest gift you can give, he said. I now was glimpsing at what Jesus meant when he said, "You are the light of the world." As I sat reflecting, I was sure that the truth is the truth, not because it is written in the Bible or the Quran, or the Bhagavad Gita, or the Tripitaka, or the Torah, or the Tao Te Ching. The truth is the truth, because it is the truth. Chapter 3. Aligning with the soul's vibration, returning to the highest self. Tranquil hush settled over the landscape as the last traces of daylight melted into the horizon. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth, mingling with the faint whisper of jasmine carried by the evening breeze. The soft crackle of a distant fire offered a rhythmic pulse to the stillness around us. I inhaled deeply, letting the moment settle into my bones, as Shalom and I sat side by side beneath the sprawling branches of an ancient tree. Shalom, ever the patient guide, studied me with quiet amusement. "What do you feel in this moment?" he asked, his voice a gentle invitation rather than a demand. I closed my eyes for a brief moment, sensing something beyond the tangible. "Stillness," I finally answered, "but also movement, as if everything far around me is alive, vibrating with some unseen force." I said. Shalom nodded. "Because it is. Every action, every thought, and every intention carries a frequency. Much like a tuning fork, we emit vibrations into the universe, attracting similar energies into our lives. The more we attune ourselves to these vibrational patterns, the easier it becomes to live in harmony with our soul's true expression," Shalom said. I turned to face him fully. "So, if everything is vibration, does that mean our struggles, our emotions, and even our desires are just different frequencies?" I asked. A knowing smile crossed Shalom's face. "Precisely. In the wisdom of the Yoruba tradition, the concept of Oya, divine consciousness, teaches that alignment with our higher self is the key to manifesting our destiny. When we stray from this alignment, we experience resistance, suffering, and confusion," he said as he gestured toward the tree above us, its branches swaying gently in the breeze. "Much like this tree bends with the wind, we must learn to move with the sacred flow of existence rather than against it. This is the path of true ascension," Shalom added. I exhaled slowly, trying to absorb his words. "But what about the conditioning we've received? Society ties, fear, respect for authority, fate. Don't those distort our vibrations?" I asked. Shalom's expression grew solemn. "Yes, and that is why the process of unconditioning is essential. The soul is infinite, unbound by societal constructs, fears, or past conditioning. The ancient Kemetic teachings of Mat emphasize balance, truth, and order as guiding principles of the soul's journey. To ascend into our highest expression, we must embrace the art of unlearning, shedding layers of falsehood, attachments, and illusions that have kept us shackled to lower vibrations," Shalom said. I frowned slightly, considering this. Is that what Christ meant when he said, "Unless you become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven"? Matthew 18:3. Shalom's eyes gleamed with approval. Yes, the return to innocence is not regression, but rather a profound state of remembering. Many of us have been taught to seek spiritual enlightenment as something distant, something to be attained in a future state of being. Yet, the reality is that we are already eternal beings expressing in the now. The Swahili proverb, "Asifunzwa na mamae, hufunzwa na ulimwengu," one who is not taught by their mother will be taught by the world, reminds us that if we do not intentionally align with our soul's wisdom, life itself will teach us. "Through trials and lessons," he said with an authoritative tone. I let his words sink in, feeling a shift within me, as if something long buried was stirring awake. So, if I truly want to align with my soul's vibration, I need to see the world differently, not as fixed and rigid, but as something fluid, something energetic and ever-flowing in waves. I asked. Shalom smiled. Exactly. One way to attune to your soul's vibration is to view life as energy in motion. The Bakongo people of Central Africa, and even your own Bonoro people, describe life as N2, a sacred force that flows through all things. Don't you say Omuntu, Ekintu, Ebin? When we recognize ourselves as beings of light, we begin to interact with life in a radically different way. Shalom said. He leaned in slightly, his voice lowering as if he were revealing a great secret. Imagine waking up each morning and asking yourself, what if I am a luminous being? What if we are all luminous beings? This shift in perception immediately transforms your energetic state. When you know that you are a spark of the divine expressing and you are in control, you live more in charge and can have a fruitful life. Shalom said, almost as if whispering. I felt a tingling sensation run down my spine. That sounds like something out of quantum physics, I said, thinking I might take him to a topic he will be unfamiliar with. My recent fascination with the quantum physics and the whole concept of us humans living in the quantum of unlimited possibilities and states. Shalom laughed. Indeed, quantum physics echoes this truth. Everything is vibration. What you perceive from the different possibilities in the quantum is what will manifest into reality in your life. Your scientists have proved this in the double-slit experiment. That showed reality is not local, but each reality is chosen by the observer. When you enter a space of pure creativity, joy, or deep meditation, you are harmonizing with the quantum field. This is why indigenous African drumming ceremonies, Sufi whirling, and yogic chants have the power to elevate consciousness. They allow the spirit to dance freely within the physical form, he said. Then a sudden thought struck me. And emotions, are they part of this vibrational field? I asked. Shalom's expression softened. Yes, your emotions are not burdens. They are messengers of the soul. In Ifa divination, it is said that Ori Inu, the inner head, speaks through feelings, guiding us toward our true path. When you feel joy, expansion, and ease, it is a signal that you are in alignment. When you experience frustration, resistance, or sadness, it is not a punishment. It is an invitation to realign. Shalom counseled. I thought of times when my emotions had felt like chains weighing me down. So, emotions are not something to escape but to listen to, I asked. Shalom nodded. Exactly. The Bhagavad Gita teaches, the mind is everything. As a man thinks, so he becomes. If you believe you are separate from the divine, you will experience separation. If you believe you are infinite, you will experience the choice is always ours to make, Shalom said. The firelight flickered, casting long shadows against the earth. A quiet reverence settled between us. So, how do I stay in alignment? I asked calmly. Shalom exhaled, glancing at the sky, where stars had begun to appear. By recognizing the sacred in all things. Everything in your life, every challenge, every relationship, every moment of silence is a divine invitation. The Akan people of Ghana hold a deep reverence for Nyandua, the tree of God, symbolizing the ever-present connection between the Creator and creation. For the Creator, the created and creation are one. When you recognize that everything in your reality is a reflection of Source, the Father that created it all, you step into true freedom. Shalom said. He turned back to me, his gaze filled with a quiet certainty. This does not mean suffering disappears, but rather suffering transforms into wisdom. When Rumi wrote, "The wound is the place where the light enters you," he was revealing an eternal truth. Our struggles are the initiations that bring us home to ourselves, he said delightfully. A slow realization dawned on me, filling my chest with warmth. So, I am not lost. I am simply awakening, I asked. Shalom's smile was radiant. You are here now, because your soul chose to be. You are not broken. You are simply remembering. Your highest path is not somewhere in the future. It is beneath your feet, in this very breath, in the beat of your heart, he said. I took a deep breath, feeling the truth of his words settle into me like a long-lost melody. Then I will step fully into the luminous being that I have always been. I found myself saying, Shalom placed a hand over his heart, and the world will be blessed for it, he declared. Chapter 3. The Alchemy of Awakening. Turning to your higher self, the wind carried a whisper through the trees, a soft murmur that rustled the leaves like an ancient song. The sky above stretched infinitely, dark velvet speckled with stars, each one pulsing with unseen wisdom. A profound stillness settled in my bones, as if the very air around us was brimming with something just beyond my reach, something vast, something sacred. I turned to Shalom, who sat beside me, gazing at the heavens with an expression that held both mystery and certainty. Shalom, I said, my voice quieter than usual. Have you ever had a moment where everything feels connected, as if time doesn't really exist, and the whole universe is speaking to you? I asked. Shalom smiled, his eyes reflecting the celestial glow above. He let out a soft chuckle, the kind that hinted at knowing more than he was letting on. Ah, you are beginning to sense it, he said. That awareness, you feel it, is not an illusion. It is a glimpse into a higher dimension of existence. Some call it the fifth dimension, he said. I furrowed my brows. The fifth dimension. I've heard the term before, but I always thought it was just a concept, not something we can actually experience, I said. Shalom shook his head. It is very real. The fifth dimension is not a place, but a state of being, a shift in consciousness, beyond the limitations of time and space. Have you ever had a sudden moment of clarity, an unexplainable knowing, or an intuition so strong that you felt it in your bones? He asked. I nodded. Yes, sometimes I just know things before they happen, or I feel like I've been somewhere before, even though I haven't, I said. Shalom's smile widened. That is your consciousness expanding beyond the third-dimensional world. It happens when you begin to remember your true nature beyond this body, beyond this lifetime. The mystics of old knew this well. The Yoruba call it the elevation of Ori, the higher self, aligning with Aladamari, the supreme creator. The ancient Egyptians encoded it in their teachings of Mat, the principle of divine balance and truth. Hindu sages spoke of Samadhi, the state where consciousness dissolves into infinite awareness. Shalom said, I wondered internally how one person could know so much about many cultures and spiritual traditions. Then I quickly remembered he had awakened to his higher self. I inhaled deeply, letting the weight of his words settle in my mind. But how does that happen? How do we access this fifth dimension? I asked. Shalom leaned forward slightly, as if unveiling a sacred secret. Your very DNA carries the memory of this higher existence. It has been waiting dormant for the right moment to awaken. That moment is now. And as you awaken, you will notice shifts in your reality. Your thoughts will manifest faster. Time will no longer feel linear, but fluid. Synchronicities will increase, and you will begin to feel an undeniable unity with everything around you, he said. A chill ran down my spine, not from fear, but from an overwhelming sense of truth. So, we aren't stepping into something new. We're remembering something ancient. I asked. Exactly, Shalom said. You are not learning. You are remembering. This is your original state of being, he said. I closed my eyes for a moment, taking it all in. But why does it feel like it is a new realization? Why have we forgotten? I asked. Shalom sighed, looking into the fire before us that he had lit to warm us. For centuries, humanity has been conditioned to believe in limitation. The world taught you that you are small, separate, powerless. But ancient wisdom, and now even quantum physics, tell a different story. The Dogon people of Mali spoke of Namo, divine beings who brought sacred knowledge from the Sirius star system, teaching that time is cyclical and that multiple realities exist at once. The Bantu people believe in Moya or Roya in Yoruba language, the spirit that flows beyond space and time, connecting the seen and the unseen, he said. Shalom turned to me, his gaze deep and penetrating. Science has now caught up to what mystics have always known. Time is not linear, and reality is not fixed. Everything is energy. Everything vibrates. When you operate from the fifth dimension, you step beyond the illusion of separation. You act as one with the divine and direct your energy to that which you wish to see become a reality. Shalom declared. This sounded like the conclusion of a key lesson, but a question burned within me. Then, how do I stay in that awareness? I've felt glimpses of it before, but it always fades, I admitted to Shalom. He nodded knowingly. To anchor yourself in the fifth dimension, you must master the power of thought and intention. Every thought you hold carries a vibration, shaping reality in ways you cannot yet fully comprehend. That is why many ancient traditions emphasized the spoken word, whether it is the Dogon concept of Ma, the Kemetic Heka, sacred speech, or the biblical Logos. In the beginning was the Word, he said. He paused, letting his words sink. In second, he continued, you must expand beyond linear time. Instead of seeing events as fixed, recognize that multiple timelines exist. Pay attention to synchronicities. When things align in ways that seem too perfect to be coincidence, these are not random. They are guideposts from the universe, steering you toward your highest path, Shalom said. I leaned in, captivated. And what else? I asked. Flow and trust, he said. The natural state of the fifth dimension is one of ease. Let go of resistance. Do you know why suffering and struggle exist in your world? He asked, as if he is not from this world. I shook my head that I don't know. Suffering comes from resisting the divine flow of life, Shalom said. When you release the illusion of control and surrender to the universal rhythm, you enter a state of grace. The grace that many of your people pray for from the Almighty, Shalom said. I took a slow breath, feeling something shift inside me. So, it's not about escaping this world, but integrating higher consciousness into everyday life, I asked. Shalom nodded. Exactly. The fifth dimension is not about transcending physical reality, but embodying divinity within it. See the sacred in all things. The sky is vast, but enlightenment begins within. He said. The fire crackled between us, casting flickering shadows along the ground. I stared into the flames, feeling as though a part of me had just awakened something ancient, something luminous. So, this shift, this awakening, it's happening now. I asked. Shalom's eyes gleamed. It is already happening within you. And as more souls awaken, the entire frequency of Earth rises. The world is changing, but the universe has been, is always the same. You are part of the great unfolding, Shalom said. I let his words settle deep into my being. Something in me knew this was true. Shalom tilted his head slightly. Are you ready to step forward? He asked. I met his gaze, steady and sure. Yes, I answered. A smile played at the corners of his lips. Then the veil is lifting. Welcome to your new reality, he declared. A hush fell over the world around us, as if the universe itself was listening. But isn't it unveils me outing my tune in alignment with the divine? I wondered to myself. The path before me shimmered, alive with infinite possibility. And for the first time, I felt like I was ready to walk it fully with confidence, in power. Chapter 4. Understanding the universal laws governing existence. The night air carried the scent of earth and burnt leaves. The embers of our fire flickered in a slow, rhythmic dance. The stars above shimmered like ancient watchers, each one holding a secret of the universe, a story whispered across time. I felt something stirred deep within me, a quiet knowing, an anticipation of truths waiting to be unveiled. Shalom sat across from me, his expression calm, yet his eyes held the depth of galaxies. He had been waiting for me to ask, to reach for the next piece of the puzzle. Shalom, I began, shifting slightly on the cool ground. If the universe is as vast and limitless as we say it is, why does it feel structured? It doesn't feel chaotic, it feels intentional. I said. A slow smile crept across his face, as if I had finally arrived at the doorstep of a great revelation. He leaned forward slightly, resting his hands on his knees. That is because it is intentional. The cosmos is not a random expanse of disorder, but a masterpiece built upon divine laws. These laws are immutable, eternal, and woven into the very essence of existence. To understand them is to understand the architecture of the universe itself. Shalom said. I nodded, eager to listen. Shalom's voice was steady, like the flow of an ancient river. Every spiritual tradition has known this. The sages, the mystics, the prophets, they all sought to align with these divine laws. When you do, life becomes effortless, like a leaf carried by the current of a sacred river, he said, gesturing towards the sky. But to go against them, that is when suffering arises, he said. I inhaled deeply, watching the stars pulse above us. Tell me about these laws. What do they teach us? I asked. Shalom took a moment before speaking, as if listening to the very fabric of the night before he answered. I knew he knew. I have done a book on laws of the universe and of life, and highlighted the laws in becoming Ultimate Master's book. So I was eager to see which ones he would emphasize or how he would explain them. The law of divine oneness, he pointed towards the heavens. The first and greatest of these laws is the law of divine oneness, the truth that all things are connected. That separation is an illusion. Have you heard of Ubuntu? I nodded. It means I am because we are, I said. Precisely. Shalom said. In the Akan tradition, Naam, the supreme creator, is both beyond creation and within it. The Yoruba people hold the same understanding with Aladamari, the divine presence in all things. Even modern science is catching up. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. Quantum entanglement proves that two particles, no matter how far apart, are forever linked. If one moves, the other moves. This means everything, every person, every thought, every action ripples across the web of existence. Shalom said. I exhaled slowly, the weight of his words settling in my chest. So, nothing is really separate. Even the things that feel distant or disconnected? I asked. Not at all, Shalom said. Your thoughts influence all other people and all existence. Your emotions send waves through the universe. That is why love is so powerful. It is the highest frequency of unity, and why hatred is so destructive. It creates the illusion of division. If you truly understood this, you would never see another being as separate from yourself, he said. The fire between us crackled softly, as if affirming his words. The law of vibration Shalom closed his eyes for a moment, then spoke again. Have you ever felt the power of sound? A song that lifted your spirit, a chant that resonated through your body? Do you know why many cultural functions and spiritual practices are animated by songs? I thought of the ancient hymns sung in temples, of the rhythmic drumming of African ceremonies, of the deep hum of monks in meditation. Yes, I said. It feels like energy moving through me. It gives me a great life feeling, I said. That is the law of vibration at work. Shalom said. Everything in existence is in motion. The universe itself is a symphony of frequencies. The Dogon people of Mali believe that creation began with a sacred sound Nemo, the divine word. This aligns with what the Bible says. In the beginning was the Word. John 1:1. The Egyptians understood this too. Ra's divine energy was said to manifest through vibration and light. Shalom. Bick explained. So, even my thoughts and emotions have a frequency. I asked. Shalom nodded. Absolutely. Love, gratitude, and joy vibrate at higher frequencies. Fear, anger, and hatred resonate at lower ones. This is why certain spiritual practices, chanting, drumming, meditation, are so powerful. They tune you to the highest frequencies, aligning you with divine energy. The Yoruba Oric, the sacred praise poetry, is not just words, it is vibration shaping reality. So are the mantras of the yogis, or the instrumentals used in places of worship. He said, I placed a hand over my heart. Then, if I want to change my reality, I must change my vibration. I asked. Shalom's eyes gleamed. Now you are beginning to understand that at all times be aware about your energy and how it is vibrating. He guided. The law of correspondence you have heard about this sacred truth. As above, so below. As within, so without. Shalom spoke the words like a sacred incantation. I recognized them immediately. That's from the Kabbalion, right? I asked. Yes, he said. But this law is even older. It is woven into the foundations of existence. The microcosm reflects the macrocosm. The universe is mirrored in you, just like the lake or ocean is in every drop of water in it, Shalom said. I frowned slightly. Are you saying we always knew this? Bai asked. In African cosmology, Shalom continued. The Akan people see the human being as a smaller version of the universe itself. The Yoruba say that your Ori, your higher self, is a reflection of Olodumari's divine intelligence. The ancient Egyptians inscribed Know Thyself on the walls of the Temple of Luxor, because to truly understand yourself is to understand the universe. And as you know, traditional Egyptian mysteries originate from knowledge of Katara peoples, he said. I let out a breath, the realization settling in. So the struggles, the lessons, they're not random. They're reflections of what's happening within me. I probed. Exactly, Shalom said. If there is chaos in your outer world, look within. If there is peace within, it will manifest outward. That is why spiritual mastery begins not by controlling the outside, but by mastering the self. Being conscious of what you feel inside of you, so it can, in due time, manifest. What you think about and feel at all times better be that which you want to experience as reality, he continued. Bridging science and ancient wisdom, I leaned forward, eager to connect everything he had shared. And what about science? How does all of this align with what we know from science today? I asked. Shalom's expression softened. Quantum physics has begun to confirm what our ancestors always knew. The observer effect proves that consciousness shapes reality. The multiverse theory suggests that multiple timelines exist simultaneously, just as the Yoruba believe in Oran, the spiritual world, and I, the physical world. And the law of energy conservation tells us that energy can never be created, destroyed, only transformed. This aligns with the African understanding of the eternal nature of the soul, he said. I shook my head in amazement. So science is only now catching up to what spiritual traditions have always taught, I wondered. Shalom smiled. Yes, because truth is eternal. It only takes humanity time to remember, or for your so-called science to prove, he said. The power of alignment. Tai stared into the flames of the fire lighting between us, feeling my entire perspective shift. If all these laws are at work, then the key to a fruitful life is aligning with them, I said, as if remembering from my deep knowledge reservoir. Shalom nodded. Alignment is everything. Look at history. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison, yet emerged not with hatred, but with love. He embodied the law of oneness and the law of vibration, and in doing so, he changed the world, Shalom said. A deep silence stretched between us, not empty, but full of understanding, of connection, of something ancient stirring awake. Finally, I looked at Shalom and asked, So what do I do now? He smiled knowingly. You live in alignment. You remember that you are not separate from the divine, but a reflection of it. You speak words of power. You vibrate with love, and you recognize that the universe is already within you, for you to reflect it well in the physical. Shalom said. I exhaled, my heart expanding with the truth. The fire crackled, the wind whispered through the trees, and the stars pulsed above. And in that moment I understood I was not just learning about the cosmos. I was remembering